The night was cold. Sarah Mitchell walked slowly through the empty city streets, her worn-out shoes clicking softly on the pavement. She carried a small plastic container close to her chest, filled with leftover food. Every step felt heavy, but she kept going. Home wasn't a warm place. It was a broken shelter at the edge of town. Her younger brother, barely 13, was waiting, hungry and tired. Sarah's coat was too thin for the biting wind, and her face showed more lines than her 21 years should have. Once she had been a college student full of dreams. Now survival was all that mattered. She cleaned tables and scrubbed floors at a diner, sometimes begging for extra hours just to make ends meet. Every leftover she saved became her brother's dinner. She turned into a dark alley, gripping the container tightly. Will she make it home safely tonight? Before we move forward, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it right now? And don't forget to like and subscribe to Blackened, Wronged for more heart-touching stories. Let's get started. Sarah's life had changed completely after her mother passed away and her father abandoned them. She had once dreamed of college and a bright future, but now her days were filled with work and worry. Every morning she went to the diner for long shifts. She cleaned tables, scrubbed floors, and sometimes begged the manager for extra hours, hoping to earn just enough money to cover rent. Her younger brother depended on her. Every bit of leftover food she could save became his dinner. The city didn't care about them. People walked past without noticing, and the nights were long and cold. Still, Sarah kept going, her determination stronger than her exhaustion. She had to survive for both of them, as she hurried through the dimly lit streets, carrying the small container tightly. Someone was watching from the distance. Who is this girl struggling alone? Will anyone notice her tonight? Across town, James Parker drove home in his sleek car, his 10-year-old son, Mike Henderson, sitting quietly beside him. James was a wealthy CEO, respected and disciplined, but his private life had been lonely since his wife passed away years ago. Raising Mike alone was both a challenge and a blessing. Mike, curious and observant, pressed his small hands against the cold window. His eyes scanned the streets, watching the city pass by. That's when he noticed her, a girl walking slowly, clutching something close to her chest. Her coat was thin, her pace tired, but there was determination in her steps. Mike's eyes widened. He leaned forward and whispered urgently, "Daddy, it's her." James glanced at him, surprised by the sudden tone. Who was this girl? And why did Mike recognize her? The moment hung in the air like a question that demanded an answer. Would James remember the story Mike had told him about the kind girl at the diner? And more importantly, would they intervene before it was too late? James Parker's mind raced as he recalled Mike's story. A few weeks ago, Mike had told him about a kind girl at the diner who had helped him when he didn't have enough money. She had covered his small bill with her own tip, showing unexpected kindness. James had thought it was just a nice gesture, nothing more. But now, seeing her walk alone through the cold, dark streets carrying a container tightly to her chest, James felt a tug at his heart. He slowed the car, watching as Sarah turned into a narrow, shadowy alley. She was unaware that anyone was watching her, and the sight of her struggle made him pause. Mike leaned closer, eyes wide. "Daddy, will she be okay?" James tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Should they follow her? Should they intervene? Every instinct told him to help, but years of calculated business decisions made him hesitate. The night felt heavier now, as if time itself was holding its breath. Would they step out and change her life, or would she vanish into the shadows unseen? Sarah reached the end of the alley, her small plastic container held tightly. The dim light barely lit the makeshift shelter she called home, a weighty pile of cardboard and old blankets, tucked beside a broken fence. Her younger brother, barely 13, sat there waiting, his eyes lighting up as he saw the food. He grabbed it quickly, too hungry to hide his desperation. Sarah finally allowed herself to breathe, exhaustion pulling at her face. She sat down beside him, pulling her thin coat tighter around her shoulders. This was her world, quiet, hidden, and full of struggle. Every day felt like a battle, and yet she fought on, because her brother depended on her. From the shadows, James and Mike watched silently. Should they step forward now? Would Sarah accept help from strangers, or would pride keep her from trusting anyone? The alley seemed frozen in time. Every sound amplified. The rustling of blankets, the soft sighs of fatigue, and the distant hum of the city. One small decision could change everything. James Parker stepped carefully out of the car, his shoes crunching softly on the gravel. Mike held tightly onto his father's coat. Small hands full of both hope and nervousness. Sarah instinctively pulled her brother closer, her eyes wide and wary. She wasn't used to strangers, especially not wealthy men in polished coats suddenly appearing in her hidden world. James took a deep breath. His heart told him to help, but his mind hesitated. He had lived by contracts, by careful calculations, not by spontaneous acts of kindness. Yet watching, Sarah's tired face and her brother's hungry eyes pushed him forward. Mike's small voice broke the silence. "Daddy, we have to help her." Sarah tightened her grip on the container, unsure what these strangers wanted. Would she reject them? Or could she allow someone into her fragile world? The night air was heavy, the city silent around them. One cautious step could start a change, but fear and pride created a wall. Would James and Mike manage to reach her heart? Or would she retreat further into the shadows? James Parker knelt slightly, trying to appear less intimidating. "You helped my son once," he said gently. "Now let me help you." His voice was calm, patient without any hint of judgment. Mike reached out his small hand toward Sarah's younger brother. The boy hesitated for a moment, then accepted it. A quiet, pure understanding passed between the children, one that needed no words. Sarah looked down, pride burning in her chest. She had endured so much already. She wasn't used to kindness, especially from strangers. Yet, in that moment, she realized that sometimes accepting help was also a form of strength. Would she finally trust them and allow this unexpected kindness into their lives? Or would her pride make her turn away? The cold night seemed softer now, as if the world was holding its breath. One choice, one small act of trust, could open the door to a life Sarah and her brother had only dreamed about. Could she step forward, or would she remain in the shadows a little longer? With James and Mike's help, Sarah and her younger brother were given a safe place to live. The shelter of cardboard and blankets was replaced by a small, warm home where they could finally breathe without fear. Sarah's brother returned to school, carrying books and wearing clean clothes for the first time in years. Sarah was offered a job at James's company cafeteria, not charity, but a dignified position where she could work and rebuild her life. Every morning she walked to work with hope in her chest, holding her head a little higher than before. The struggles of the past still weighed on her, but now there was a chance for a better future. Could they truly leave their hardships behind and embrace this new life? Or would the memories of hunger, cold, and fear hold them back? Each night, Sarah remembered her mother's words about holding on through storms. But now there was a light she could follow, a chance to grow, to learn and to live with hope again. Could this be the beginning of a life they had only dreamed of? Months passed, and life slowly transformed for Sarah and her younger brother. Sarah worked in the company cafeteria with pride, serving meals with dignity instead of carrying leftovers in plastic containers. Her brother laughed freely, played with friends, and dreamed of becoming an engineer. Mike watched them quietly, his small voice proud as he whispered to his father, "Daddy, it all worked out." James smiled, realizing that one small act of recognition and kindness had changed. Not just one life, but many. Life wasn't perfect yet, but the fear, hunger, and cold nights had become memories instead of daily reality. Could they continue to grow and thrive now that hope had entered their lives?